today, but before that, new data suggests that over half of Home Office asylum decisions are being overturned on appeal. This even includes a convicted sex offender from Afghanistan who was granted asylum after a judge ruled that he would be at risk of mob violence if he was sent home. So the big question is this: is Britain's asylum system completely broken? Well, I can now speak with immigration lawyer Harjap Singh Bhangal. Welcome to the show, Harjap. We have this conversation so often, do we not? But this latest set of figures and revelations even surprise me. The fact we can't deport convicted sex offenders because they claim they will face potential violence in their home country would astonish many GBNews viewers. Don't forget, of course, Abdulazidi went down a similar route, committed 2 sex offences and yet wasn't deported and went on to commit that heinous crime. Are we placing the human rights of sex offenders before the human rights of British citizens?
Oh, not really. It's that what we're doing is a system with the Home Office is that it's broken. We're not fixing the broken Home Office. The Home Office removal rate graph goes like this. It goes all the way down since 2010. And the fact is that we know who's been in control since 2010. Before that, people were being sent back 60,000 a year, 50,000 a year, even enforced removals, which are removals of people whose case has been rejected. They were in 11, 15,000, 11,000. Since 2010, that went down to last year or the year before to an amazing 2,000, 3,000. Now, the fact is, it's up to the government and the Home Office, once somebody's case has been refused and once their appeal's been refused, to actually put somebody on a plane back to the country. We can only put people back onto planes back to their country if we've got return agreements. When we negotiated a certain treaty in 2016, we forgot to do that. That's the problem. So what we've got to do is, this whole system is broken. Anybody who works in the Home Office will tell you that. We know that the fact that our borders aren't secure, we know that people aren't being sent back, we know that cases are taking 2 years to decide. It should take half a day for a trained person to decide a case. It shouldn't take 2 years, Martin, to make a decision. And it's not one case or 5 cases or 10 cases that are waiting 2 years or a year for a decision. It's over 100,000. So in that time, people are staying here, they're allowed to apply again, they can appeal again, and they're creating lives for themselves here. And the longer they stay here, the harder it is to send people back.
Precisely. And again, Harjap, some of these figures are simply eye-watering. 61% of all failed asylum seekers are still in the UK. There's one case here of an African woman who's been trying and failing for 18 years to get the right to remain. And every time she's refused, the Home Office simply ask her if she'd like to leave the country. They don't deport her, they don't do the job, and what we have there is the perfect storm for this constant legal merry-go-round, and nobody ever seems to leave the country.
Yeah, I mean, the removals unit is, probably exhausted, and they're the ones that we need to concentrate on. Firstly, the whole system needs to be, we need to stop the gangs sending people here. We can't stop these gangs who are sending people for the past 20 years from the French coast. All of your viewers know that they start from the French coast. All of your viewers know that they end up on the Kent coast. The UK government doesn't seem to know this and tells us this lie. They're 8 steps ahead of us. Then what the heck is all the intelligence and all of the police force and border force doing that you've got? Not only you can't do your job and you can't stop them, then when they get here, you take a year, 2 years to give them a decision on their claim after they've given an interview in half a day. Then, after their appeal's been refused or their claim's been refused, you don't even send them back. This whole system is broken. So if you're looking at what your punchline today or the tagline is saying Britain's broken asylum system, you're right. Me and you end up talking every other week about this, that this system is broken, yet no action is done. It needs a complete overhaul from top to bottom.
On that, we can agree, my friend. And here's something I'm going to throw at you as an immigration lawyer, which might upset you. £34 million of legal aid has been spent every year since 2017 on asylum cases, according to the Ministry of Justice. Should asylum seekers, particularly those who come to the country illegally, even get legal aid?
Well, they only get a limited amount of legal aid. So a lawyer only gets involved after someone gets refused. When someone's caught at Dover trying to enter the country, no lawyers are called down there, and they're all done. That's all dealt by the Home Office. So £34 million legal aid, that's fine. How much are we spending on border force? How much are we spending on Home Office staff? What about them barges that are sitting there empty? What about the 500 million that we've spent to Rwanda? How many times more is that than 34 million? Loads. It's more than 10 times we've spent on zero planes to go to Rwanda and to ferry people like Suella Braverman on private first-class planes to go out there and show us. And what about the latest revelation, Martin? That the accommodation that was set aside for the people in Rwanda has been sold off. That tells you that there's no intention to send people to Rwanda. And if there is, it's just a gimmick. And that money, who has been eating that money? It's this government is responsible for that. British citizens, British companies. What about all the money on the hotels that is being spent daily? Like I said, the whole system is done. It's not lawyers or judges to blame here. This looks like that. This is a whole shambles from the day a person leaves the coast of France to the day the person gets rejected here and is just allowed to roam free in the country. So that, my friend, is on this government. They're in charge. The removal figures have gone down like that. It doesn't matter whether we have Theresa May, David Cameron, Boris Johnson, Rishi Sunak. Doesn't matter who's been Foreign Secretary or Home Secretary. We've had Priti Patel sell us the Rwanda scheme, Suella shouting from the rooftops, Robert Jenrick. The results speak for themselves. You know the results. You've said the figures, 61%. That's not normal.
No, so that begs the question, though, Harjap Singh Bhangal, is this going to change or get any different under the Labour Party? They're talking tough, but are we just simply looking down the barrel of a system so broken it can't be fixed?
Well, at least Keir Starmer's saying the right things for a start. He's saying he's going to smash the gangs and stop the gangs. That's the correct way to do this. You don't stop drug dealing by locking up the drug users. You go out and get the drug dealers, right? You won't stop people smuggling by locking up asylum seekers. You'll have to catch the people smugglers. And this government has failed to do that. How many people smuggling gangs have they caught in the last 10 years? When do you hear about people smugglers getting life in jail as to deter them? You don't. If they get caught, they get 2 or 3 years, they're out. And they usually have a fall guy. You've got to break the business model of the gangs. A bigger deterrent than this government and the Rwanda scheme is the weather. And that just tells you everything. That our gangs run on whether the weather's good or not. This deterrent scheme, whatever the government said, hasn't worked. At least Labour are saying the right things. And if they do the right things, we'll have to wait and see. But the fact that we can definitely take away is this government has done everything wrong.
OK, Harjap Singh Bhangal, it's hard to disagree with that. Thank you very much for joining us on the show, as ever, channeling pure common sense.